Did you know that over 70% of men unknowingly sabotage their own social and financial value before they even hit 35? Value isn't automatic, it's something you build or lose every single day. Have you ever been in a room where your words barely land, while everyone else dominates the conversation? That's not just coincidence, it's a subtle sign of low social value. People subconsciously gravitate toward confidence, and when you don't project it, doors close, opportunities vanish, and influence dwindles. Carl Jung described the shadow self as all the parts of you that remain hidden or neglected. When you stay silent, defer excessively, or fail to assert your presence, that shadow silently chips away at your social power. It's not about being loud or aggressive. It's about having a voice and using it effectively. The real-world implications are tangible. At work, your ideas might get overlooked, promotions go to louder colleagues, and even friends stop seeking your input. At social gatherings, your presence feels invisible. Over time, this invisibility erodes confidence, creating a vicious cycle that's hard to break unless consciously addressed. Here's a simple, actionable step. Start asserting one opinion per gathering. Don't wait for permission or validation. Share it clearly and calmly. Over time, your voice will carry weight, people will notice, and your perceived value will rise. Voice and respect. Mini anecdote. I once observed a man who consistently let others speak first, even about topics he knew best. Within months, his influence had evaporated. People stopped asking for his input. After consciously deciding to assert small opinions daily, his credibility surged, and he became the go-to person for advice. Emerging trend. In modern networking, subtle confidence often outweighs flashy credentials. People follow those who quietly command attention. By consistently expressing your thoughts, you build an invisible aura of authority that draws respect naturally. Speak once per meeting, gradually increasing presence and influence. Have you ever met someone who seems incapable of making a single decision without approval? Constantly agreeing, deferring, or yielding to others is a textbook sign of low-value behavior. Over-deference signals insecurity and lack of authority, which others pick up on almost instantly. Jung's psychology underscores this as shadow avoidance. Avoiding conflict and deference to others comes from unacknowledged fears. This isn't about arrogance, it's about asserting boundaries and standing in your own power. Without it, your credibility diminishes and people subconsciously deprioritize you. The real-world effects are tangible. Colleagues may override your suggestions, friends may take advantage of your accommodation, and romantic partners may see passivity as weakness. Over time, self-doubt grows because your environment reinforces a pattern of yielding rather than leading. Actionable step. Learn to say no daily. Start small, turn down a minor request, or express a different opinion in conversation. Each instance reinforces authority and internal confidence. Boundaries and respect. Mini anecdote. A colleague I knew always deferred to everyone's restaurant choice, meeting time, and even project approach. After practicing saying no to minor requests, his influence skyrocketed. People began seeking his preferences and valuing his judgment. Emerging trend. Social dynamics now reward subtle authority. Men who confidently assert small boundaries gain disproportionate respect in both personal and professional spheres. Practice daily refusals or alternative suggestions. Authority and respect. Ever notice someone who complains at every turn? It might seem harmless, but negativity is contagious, and it subconsciously signals low value. People naturally avoid those who bring constant pessimism, even if the person is talented or well-meaning. Carl Jung emphasized that recurring negative patterns often stem from the shadow self, unacknowledged frustrations projected outward. Complaining repeatedly shows the world that you lack control or perspective, even if that's not true. Over time, colleagues, friends, and even family members begin to dismiss your ideas, preferring to spend energy elsewhere. Real-world implications are immediate. At work, complaints can label you as a problem, not a solution. In relationships, constant negativity drains energy and erodes attraction. Your social circle subtly recalibrates, your opinions matter less, invitations may dwindle, and trust can erode. Actionable step: replace complaints with solutions daily. If a problem arises, propose a constructive approach or simply reframe the issue mentally. Over weeks, this shifts perception, builds influence, and signals competence, positivity, and magnetism. Mini anecdote: I observed a colleague who complained non-stop about small frustrations. People started ignoring his input. Once he practiced solution-oriented thinking, his ideas gained attention, and respect naturally followed. Do you find yourself agreeing with everything friends or colleagues say, even when you know it's wrong? Constant over-agreement signals low confidence and devalues your own judgment. People notice, even subconsciously, and begin to deprioritize your opinions. Jung's psychology teaches that failing to assert your shadow, your authentic self, allows others' projections to dominate. When you automatically conform, you deny your identity, reduce credibility, and limit your influence. Authority is built on discernment, not passive compliance. Real-world consequences are clear. Teams may implement poor strategies just because you didn't speak up. Friends may overlook your preferences, and romantic partners may unconsciously see you as passive or unassertive. Over time, habitually agreeing erodes both confidence and respect. Practical step: voice constructive critique at least once daily. Start small, challenge a minor idea respectfully. Over time, your judgment will carry weight, people will notice your insight, and your perceived value will rise. Influence and respect. Mini anecdote: I knew a man who consistently nodded during brainstorming sessions, even when ideas were flawed. After deliberately contributing his thoughts weekly, his colleagues began seeking his input first, and his confidence surged. Emerging trend: in collaborative and hybrid work environments, assertive contributors are increasingly recognized as leaders, even if they are not in formal positions of authority. Speaking up strategically signals competence and value. Challenge one idea per day with confidence. Judgment and influence. Carl Jung emphasized that individuals who overcompensate often do so to mask fear or inadequacy. Apologies should be deliberate, authentic, and reserved for situations where they are truly warranted. Overuse diminishes their power and corrodes personal credibility. Real-world implications are clear. At work, unnecessary apologies make colleagues question your competence. In friendships or relationships, excessive apologizing erodes attraction and reduces influence. Over time, your own self-esteem suffers because your environment reinforces self-doubt. Practical step: reserve apologies for genuine mistakes. Consciously monitor your language. Replace unnecessary apologies with neutral statements like "noted" or "thank you for sharing." Small adjustments drastically shift perception, authority, and confidence. Mini anecdote: I observed a friend who constantly said sorry for minor things, bumping into chairs, interrupting conversations, or even speaking up. After actively limiting apologies to genuine situations, people began treating him with newfound respect and listening more attentively. Emerging trend: in modern professional settings, measured communication is increasingly linked with leadership perception. Subtle authority now outweighs overt charm, and strategic restraint in language reinforces value. Apologize only when necessary. Confidence and authority. Ignoring personal growth is silently draining your value. Do you spend months, or even years, without learning a new skill or improving yourself? Neglecting personal growth is a quiet but powerful sign of low value. Stagnation signals mediocrity to others, whether in your career, social circles, or relationships. Jung's teachings highlight that the individuation process, actively becoming your fullest self, is central to self-worth. Avoiding growth is akin to ignoring a part of your shadow self, leaving potential untapped and charisma diminished. Real-life effects are immediate. Colleagues surpass you, social influence declines, and self-perception suffers. Without deliberate effort, others unconsciously assign you lower status, not based on talent, but on visible engagement and initiative. Invest 30 minutes daily in learning or skill building. It could be reading, practicing a craft, or attending workshops. The goal is consistent, incremental improvement, growth, and mastery. Mini anecdote: I knew a man who ignored skill development for years. He felt stuck professionally and socially. Once he committed to a daily growth habit, his confidence surged. Peers began consulting him, and new opportunities naturally appeared. Dedicate 30 minutes daily to growth, mastery, and influence. Have you noticed that friends, colleagues, or even strangers can anticipate exactly how you'll respond in any situation? Predictability is comforting, but in excess, it signals low intrigue and diminishes perceived charisma. People naturally gravitate toward individuals who are a little unpredictable, those who are confident enough to act with originality rather than routine. Carl Jung emphasized the balance between order and spontaneity as a reflection of self-actualization. When you become overly predictable, you suppress parts of your authentic self, and others sense the lack of depth. Your value decreases not because you lack skill, but because your aura lacks dynamic energy. Real-world consequences are subtle but real. At work, predictable approaches can make you overlooked for leadership roles. In social settings, you may be fun but forgettable. In relationships, predictability can dull attraction. Over time, it creates a perception that you lack creativity, adaptability, or independence. Practical step: introduce healthy unpredictability weekly. Change routines, voice opinions differently, or approach a problem uniquely. Even small variations make you more memorable and respected. Mystery and respect. Mini anecdote: I knew a colleague who followed rigid daily patterns. After consciously introducing subtle changes in conversation and problem solving, peers began noticing his input more, and his influence increased dramatically. Emerging trend: in a world dominated by algorithmic predictability and automation, human unpredictability becomes a highly valued trait. Those who can act thoughtfully, yet unexpectedly stand out. Add small, controlled surprises to daily interactions, intrigue, and influence. Your finances may reveal more than you think. Money isn't just numbers, it's a reflection of responsibility, discipline, and value. Poor money management, constant debt, or reckless spending subconsciously signals low personal accountability. People notice, and even without words, your perceived competence can drop. Jung's insights on the persona highlight how external symbols shape internal perception. Financial habits are a visible reflection of your priorities, planning, and foresight. Neglecting them can subtly erode confidence and influence, regardless of your talents or social skills. In practical terms, financial mismanagement has cascading effects: missed opportunities, increased stress, and diminished credibility. Colleagues may doubt your reliability, partners may question your foresight, and friends may subconsciously prioritize others who demonstrate stability. Practical step: track spending weekly and set small, achievable financial goals. Monitoring habits and actively improving your finances signals responsibility, maturity, and control. Wealth and respect. Mini anecdote: I observed a man whose erratic financial behavior made him appear unreliable. Once he committed to budgeting, saving, and investment learning, his colleagues and social peers noticed the shift in confidence, and opportunities began to follow. Monitor and improve finances weekly. Responsibility and influence. Do you sidestep difficult conversations, disagreements, or conflicts? Avoiding confrontation is a classic low-value trait. People respect those who can assert themselves calmly and navigate tension effectively. Avoidance signals fear, indecision, and a lack of authority. Jung's teachings stress that facing conflict is essential to personal growth. Suppressing your opinions to avoid discomfort allows others' agendas to dominate, gradually eroding your influence and credibility. The real-world impact is immediate. At work, you may miss promotions or leadership opportunities. In relationships, passive behavior leads to frustration and diminished respect. Socially, people may take advantage of your compliance. Avoidance slowly diminishes perceived value, often without conscious realization. Engage in respectful confrontation at least once weekly. Start with small disagreements and escalate gradually. Express your position clearly while maintaining composure, strength, and integrity. Mini anecdote. I knew a man who always yielded to colleagues' opinions to avoid conflict. Over time, his influence waned. After intentionally speaking up respectfully, he gained authority and people began valuing his input. Face minor conflicts weekly with confidence, authority, and respect. You freeze in decision-making moments. Do you find yourself hesitating or overthinking when quick decisions are required? Indecision is a subtle but strong low-value signal. People respect men who act confidently, even when the outcome is uncertain. Hesitation diminishes credibility and reduces perceived leadership ability. Jung's insights into the shadow self suggest that indecision often stems from unacknowledged fears and internal conflict. Avoiding choices signals to others and yourself that you lack control and confidence. Real-world effects are visible in every sphere. Colleagues defer to others, social situations leave you overlooked, and opportunities pass by. Over time, consistent indecision erodes self-trust and external influence, creating a feedback loop of low perceived value. Decide quickly, adjust later. Practice making small decisions rapidly: what to eat, how to schedule your day, and gradually apply the same principle to bigger choices. Confidence grows through action, not hesitation. Confidence and power. A friend of mine constantly deferred big decisions, waiting for others to lead. After adopting a decide first, refine later mindset, his influence and assertiveness skyrocketed. People began seeking his input, and respect followed naturally. Practice rapid decision-making daily. Power and influence. Neglecting emotional resilience silently lowers your value. Have you noticed that some men crumble under minor stress while others stay calm? Emotional fragility is an invisible but powerful low-value signal. People intuitively sense who can handle pressure and who cannot, and resilience directly affects respect and influence. Carl Jung emphasized integrating the shadow self, including emotional patterns, to achieve balance. Avoiding emotional challenges or suppressing discomfort signals weakness, even if it's hidden behind competence or charm. Over time, others perceive you as unreliable, and subtle social hierarchies place you lower. Real-world consequences are everywhere. At work, decision-making suffers under stress. In relationships, conflicts escalate unnecessarily. Socially, people hesitate to rely on you. Ignoring emotional resilience erodes both self-confidence and external perception. Practice stress exposure weekly. Take small challenges that push emotional limits: public speaking, cold calls, or physical endurance exercises. Over time, resilience becomes instinctive, calm, and authority. Mini anecdote. I observed a friend who avoided confrontation in high-pressure situations. Once he deliberately put himself in challenging scenarios weekly, his composure improved dramatically, and peers began treating him as reliable and strong. Expose yourself to small challenges weekly. Resilience and respect. Ignoring micro-impressions undermines subtle influence. Did you know that tiny, seemingly insignificant behaviors, tone, gestures, timing, shape how others perceive you? Neglecting these micro-impressions is a hidden low-value trap. Even if you're competent, small mistakes accumulate to reduce perceived authority. Jung highlighted that the shadow self often manifests in unnoticed habits. Fidgeting, inconsistent eye contact, or awkward pauses may seem minor, but they communicate insecurity and indecision. People subconsciously tally these cues and adjust their respect and attention accordingly. In real life, this matters everywhere: job interviews, networking events, dates, and leadership situations. Small lapses in micro-impressions can overshadow actual skill or insight, leaving you underestimated and overlooked. Audit micro-behaviors weekly. Record interactions, note gestures, tone, and body language. Adjust consciously. Small improvements compound rapidly into strong presence. Precision and influence. Mini anecdote. A man I knew was brilliant but frequently interrupted others and avoided eye contact. Once he corrected small habits, people listened attentively, authority increased, and influence grew almost instantly. Refine micro-behaviors weekly. Presence and impact. Let's recap what we've uncovered. Subtle behaviors define your value far more than words or achievements. From asserting your voice and refining your wardrobe, to cultivating hobbies, emotional resilience, and micro-impressions, every small choice amplifies your presence. Remember, confidence is silent but perceptible. Your network, habits, and daily actions compound invisibly, influencing how others perceive you and how you feel about yourself. By identifying these 20 signs and taking deliberate steps, you reclaim control, authority, and respect. Here's your takeaway in one sentence. Value is invisible, subtle, and cumulative. Invest daily.